Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cardano Live. Glad to have everybody here today. We have Bitcoin at a new all-time high, which is always good news for pretty much the entire crypto market. So we're glad to see that. With today's guests, I have Marek and Jan from Five Binaries. They've built the projects on Blockfrost. So a lot of you have seen Blockfrost out there. These are the folks that are the builders of Blockfrost and the products, and they're here to talk with us today. They're also building a Plutus application backend. I've got links down in the description below. So check out the description down below. I've got links to their Twitter. I've got links to Stake Nuts. I've got links to Five Binaries. There's links to Blockfrost. And most importantly, there's a link to the Project Catalyst proposal that we'll be talking about today. And while you're down there in the description, go ahead and smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell if you want notifications. Without further ado, we'll get over to our guests we have here today, starting with Marek, creator of Blockfrost and founder of Five Binaries. How are you doing today, sir?
Very good. Thank you for having us, Rick.
Excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? You've been around Cardano for quite some time now.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been in the Cardano ecosystem since the days before ITN, and actually many of the viewers may know me by my stake pool, which is Stake Nuts. And after the ITN ended, we actually used the rewards from the ITN network to found Five Binaries, which is a infrastructure development company. And today we are going to talk about mostly about our flagship product, which is Blockfrost.
Awesome. Thank you, Marek. And Jan, good to see you here today as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Eric, thanks for having us. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not in the ecosystem for as long as Marek, but I've been watching him very closely because we're good friends. So he's got me basically into Blockfrost and building Blockfrost. So I've been working mostly on Blockfrost for over a year now. So like the Blockfrost is live for half a year, but we've been building it, months before it came live.
Nice. Well, you know what, Jan, thank you for building on Cardano. Love having developers, and great to see you guys building on Cardano. That is the best part of all. That really makes my day. That makes me the happiest of all things. All right. So with Fund 6, voting is wrapping up tomorrow on October 21st. So if you have not yet voted on Fund 6 and you are already registered, you had to register by the beginning of October. Please make sure you get out there and vote on Project Catalyst, the biggest funding. It's almost like a DAO, not quite there yet, biggest one in the world. So let's talk about the Project Catalyst Fund 6 that is being deployed. Marek, do you want to lead us off? Tell us a little bit about this Plutus application backend. What is a Plutus application backend, and what cool stuff are you guys building?
Yeah, so maybe I will just start with what a Plutus application backend is in general. So it's the off-chain backend service that is responsible to be interacting with smart contracts. The applications can actually manage the smart contracts using this backend. And in Plutus, you have basically two parts. The first one is the on-chain part, right, which we are now allowed to run with the Alonso hard fork. And this is the code that is being validated by the stateful operators. But there is also the second part, which is not less important, which is the off-chain code. And basically what PAB, which is like short for Plutus application backend, does is to watch the chain for events and run those on-chain contracts while it happens. And in Fund 6, one of our proposals is actually to build a Plutus application backend extension, or if you will, a version that will not need a full Cardano node, but it will be built on top of Blockfrost. So this will be really helpful for like light wallets or some like dApps developers where the users cannot really stay online all the time and don't have to actually run the full node to interact with smart contracts.
Okay, cool. All right. So, and Jan, feel free to chime in. Let's say I'm a developer who's making a dApp to run on Cardano, and I make the interface and all the front end. How does this Plutus application backend make my life easier on getting my app or my dApp or my game to connect to the network? Can you walk me through that a little more?
Marek, I think you'll have to take this one because
Yeah, no worries, because I think what makes sense is to actually explain a little bit more what Blockfrost is. So, because I mean, the Plutus application backend is just a concept, but Blockfrost is actually the API where the application can connect to the Cardano blockchain without having the full node. So if you are a app developer and you really want to build applications, you don't really have to build and maintain this whole stack when you need like a DB sync, Cardano node that needs to be like up all the time, and you don't really want to monitor any of this. So one of the service with this Plutus application beacon will be definitely this, that you can actually use already existing Blockfrost API and to extend this with this off-chain code that will be run in Plutus. Maybe Anne can maybe share a little bit with what languages we are supporting by Blockfrost. I think that's really interesting because that is also one of the components that has been founded by the community in Project Catalyst.
Definitely. Like, just to give you, a little bit overview, Marek is the brain of the operation. I'm only the muscle. So what he says, we're going to implement with our team. So if something gets implemented, then I know perfectly how it's, working. But when it's the new stuff, it's the Marek that's working on, all the future proposals and things like that. So with Blockfrost, basically, it's not only me. We're a team of people that's building Blockfrost. Obviously, it's not possible to do it only, in one person. And the important stuff is that I think what you've seen on Reddit when Cardano started, it was a lot of people trying to get into the Haskell or, asking, do I have to learn Haskell to, do something with Cardano? And a lot of people answered yes, because there wasn't an alternative. But now, when you have Blockfrost, we created these many SDKs. And by far, the most favorite one is JavaScript or TypeScript SDK and Python SDK. A lot of developers are using it. I've just pulled some numbers today, and it's like before we came to this call or to this Cardano Live, there were more than 5 million calls already made by or through the JavaScript or TypeScript SDK. And that's only the SDK. It's like there are many people running through or running the API directly because they can, but there's a ton of people who don't want to use the API directly, so they use the SDKs. And we have like several of them. We have, they mentioned the JavaScript, the Python, we have Java, Elixir, Swift, Kotlin, Scala, Ruby, Haskell, you name it. So it's really good for the ecosystem and for the developers, so they can develop in the language they are familiar with.
Yeah, nice. And I think this is really important because there has been so many speaks that if you want to develop something on Cardano, you have to learn Haskell. I mean, you should learn Haskell because it's a beautiful and interesting language. But I mean, if your bread and butter is Python, please use Python to build your application, because that's why Blockfrost exists. So you don't have to learn how to run the Cardano node. You don't have to learn how to set up all those components. You don't have to learn how to stay online and wake up at 2 a.m. because your Cardano node did stop. So and now you can really choose one of those. I think Jan, correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost 13 languages, and you can just start developing application in those.
Wow. So the big benefit here is there's developers out there who write games in Python. They can write their games in Python. They don't have to worry about the whole back end. They can connect through your services and poof, they're up and running.
Yeah, definitely. And one of our other proposals in Fund 6 is actually Unity support for Blockfrost. So when you are developing your games in Unity, as a developers, you have this IDE. When you just click and select, you will be able to actually create directly in the Unity interface the object and connect it to the Cardano. So I will just make an example. You are making RPG game and you create a door that you can pass only if your address has a certain NFT in it or something like that. So it will be also really easy for game developers to actually build on Cardano.
Wow, that's a great idea. That would be interesting to see the game developers integrate the different NFT projects, not just
Yeah.
like one game per NFT, but one game that interacts with all the different NFT systems that have been built on Cardano. That would be really
Yeah.
cool.
Wouldn't it be cool,
And-
like, if you would have to have NFT from different, like, you need to have like space bats and some different NFT in order to, to have a team of players, and there is so much possibilities in the gaming world, I
Yeah.
think.
And yeah, and a jet chicken and all the Cardano events. I've got crypto news, man. I'm a NFT junkie, man. Every time I see a drop, I'm like, no, just hold off. And then I click on it. And I say no. So not to go off on NFTs, but I'd like to circle back to what Jan said he's had 5 million API calls through which one was it? The
JavaScript. So it is JavaScript with TypeScript SDK. Yeah.
Okay. And those SDKs, where do they reside? Do you have like links to GitHub where the developers, I failed to put them in the description. I forgot to ask. So I'll get those links after the podcast. I'll put them down in the description. That way, if developers, if they see the YouTube video, they have links to get out there and grab those SDKs. And then how does it work? They run it locally to help them build out and connect to the Blockfrost technology?
Yeah, you just have to register on our website on Blockfrost.io, and then you get the project ID, which is our token, and then you just plug in the token into the SDK, and you're good to go, and that's it.
Okay,
so, like 1 minute process.
1 minute to set up, and then whatever the person is proficient at developing, they can focus their time and efforts on building a better product for the user. And you guys take care of the back end. Man, that's awesome.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
We do the waking up in the night for you. So.
Oh, you wake up in the middle of the night, make sure everything's still running. And I remember seeing something where the Blockfrost is serving data. There's like a terabyte of day for NFTs. How did that work? I'm just curious. Since I have you guys here.
Yeah, that's our IPFS project. So yeah, I have pulled some numbers, or Marek pulled some numbers. I've seen it, but maybe Marek can talk more about this. But it was more like 600 terabyte of data for September. So
and I think if I remember correctly, it was over 1 billion requests. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's correct.
And how many unique users is it? Sorry, I don't have the numbers on top of my...
It was almost 1 million unique visitors. So
this is like 1 million of unique users fetching NFTs through Blockfrost on Cardano, of course.
Holy cow.
Just in September, yeah.
Okay, I just want the viewers to make note of those numbers. You guys are bringing in a lot of user interaction, which is important. People can get their stuff. Man, that is cool. That gives me goosebumps. Man. I love to hear those numbers. So that's 20 terabytes a day on average for the month of September of data served through Blockfrost. And that's important. As voters, that's important to know. These guys deliver. They've built products. They're delivering data. So that's important to me personally, is when I look on Project Catalyst and I vote on stuff and I go, yeah, they're delivering stuff. And that garners the upvotes right there. As opposed to if I'm completely unfamiliar with the project, I kind of I abstain from voting if I don't know anything about it. Right. But you guys have been really putting out a lot of stuff. I do want to touch on a few of the viewer questions as we're getting to that time. There's some interesting stuff. There's a question from Robert, and Robert asks, is the PAB open source and is it widely available to any users?
So as I said before, the PAB is just a concept, and there is one version of the PAB that is being built at IOG, which resides in the Plutus repository on their GitHub. I don't think it has been released yet, but the work in progress is already there. We already started some work on our Blockfrost PAB itself. We don't have any code yet, just some design decisions. And if we get funded through Project Catalyst, this project will be open source as all other projects. Everything that is funded by the community that we do is open source and out there on our GitHub. So you can check it out.
Cool. And for people to use it, you have some documentation on your GitHub so that they can at least read through it and see how do I interface.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I will get those links in the description. If there's any other viewer questions, let me know in the chat. We will get to those questions later here in the podcast in a few minutes. And that was a really good question from Robert there. And it kind of leads to the question. Now, IOG is building a Plutus application backend as well. That's one of the key features that developers need. And that's why there is like less smart contracts on Cardano that some people expected, is because they need that Plutus application backend. And so, and IOG's, the rough estimate that I personally make is later October, but most likely in the November timeframe, probably by the end of November, the IOG version of the Plutus application backend will be released. Now, you're building a similar product, but they don't like totally step on each other. It's like developers will have an option, right? They can use the Blockfrost PAB for its strengths and advantages, or they could use the IOG PAB for its strengths or advantages. Is that generally the idea here? Is they're going to have multiple options for different Plutus application backends?
Yeah, definitely. So if you're a developer and you care about running your own infrastructure, which might make sense in many cases, or if your smart contract is designed to really interact with Daedalus users, because PAB will be somehow linked to Daedalus, then yeah, it makes sense to use the PAB used by IOG. But if you are like a light wallet or any other more of a light application like an NFT marketplace or something, it makes sense to actually use also the Blockfrost Plutus application backend. And as we always say, decentralization is not only about like how many stake pool operators we have, but it's also how many projects and companies we have. So it's important that we have alternatives from different sources.
Awesome. Thanks. And can I ask you guys a question? I don't want to ambush you with this question, but do you have a rough idea how long it'll take before you have a PAB out there in the world? Can you answer that?
Well, I know, because like putting out timelines is really, really sensitive in the Cardano ecosystem. But if we get funded, we hope to release the initial version of the PAB by end of this year.
Oh, okay. So you'll have like a beta or something, possibly. It's just an estimate,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Things happen.
It's very raw working product, and we really hope to have at least the initial version. Of course, over the time, it will allow people to host their own Plutus application backend, but we hope to see it by end of this year.
Nice. All right. That is sooner than I thought. Well, I really hope you guys win the Project Catalyst vote. And it sounds like you've already built a lot of stuff already.
Yeah.
Even with the funding you have, and some of it you probably just built out of pocket with your own blood, sweat, and tears, right? Because coders like to code. Somebody's got to do it, and that's you guys. Man, that's pretty awesome. All right. I don't see any other viewer questions. A comment from Robert. I appreciate that, Robert. This is really good for the community to understand relative to the different options for PABs. Yeah. There's some are going to be strong in some areas, others will be strong in others. All right. So before we wrap up, guys, is there anything else you wanted to tell us either about the Plutus application backend, Project Catalyst proposal, or Blockfrost in general?
So I would like to take the opportunity of first thank you, Rick, for having us on your podcast. It's been really fun, and I would really like the community for working for us, because we have already a lot of projects that has been funded and delivered, and I think the support we are feeling from the community is one of the largest drivers we have in the work what we do.
Oh, cool! Thank you for that. And Jan, any last words here before we wrap up?
I don't know. Just thanks for having us first and foremost, and thanks for all the users of Blockfrost for using Blockfrost. Like it's real fun, and
Yeah, and thank you for that, Jan. There was one last viewer question, and then we'll wrap it up. This was very interesting. Just popped up. Thank you, Plu, for this question. Are Blockfrost servers ready to scale as Cardano picks up more traffic? Because we know that's coming, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we designed Blockfrost from the day first to scale up to million requests. So we are ready for that, both from like the infrastructure point of view and the design point of view. So don't worry, we are thinking hard about this, and we can all look forward to actually having those problems,
Yeah, if I may add to it, like we're like 90% of what I'm doing is really just thinking about scaling things, and like you don't see this because the backend releases aren't public, but we are improving like every 5, 6, 7 days we are doing a new release. We are constantly improving on in scaling things, on improving the calls that they are much quicker. And so this is vast majority of our work is just making sure we're ready and we scale.
That's a good point, actually. If we do our job correctly, you should never hear about us.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a good point. Thank you for that question, Plu. And if, like you said, if they're doing the back end correctly, you're never going to hear about them. You guys are the wizards behind the curtains. These guys are infrastructure professionals and building the back end professionals, so that when you that front end game, that front end application, a DApp, a financial product, whatever that is, you may have Blockfrost products running in the background built by the team at 5 Binaries. So appreciate that, Plu. Thank you for that. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming on Cardano Live today. And as always, we're going for number one all day, every day. And it's guys like you that are helping us move the ball down the field so that we can hit that number one at some point in all categories. I'm not just talking about market cap. I'm talking about GitHub commits, products, ease of use for the user, all that cool stuff, right? So that's what we're looking for. All right. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Marek. And you guys come back anytime if you want to give us an update in the next couple of months. You want to hop on Cardano Live, just reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me on Telegram, Twitter, and everything else. Sound good?
Thank you so much.
You bet. All right. Bye, everyone.